Hey everybody, it's Zach and I like movies, and today I'm here to talk about American Fiction. This is the debut feature from writer Cord Jefferson, who's had an interesting career. He's written for things like The Good Place and the HBO Watchmen, and he's come out here with a debut American Fiction that got rave reviews ever since it coming out of TIFF, and it is just last week, pretty sure it was last week I think, it was nominated for 5 Oscars, like Original Score, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Leading and Supporting Actor, and even Best Picture. So it's about a writer named Thelonious Monk Ellison, played by the always excellent and always stupendous Jeffrey Wright. And Monk is suffering from writer's block, and he was basically been forced to go back home to Boston, spend some time with his family. Who he still feels like kind of the black sheep of like, you know, they're all this like very well off, very highly successful, you know, doctors and plastic surgeons and writers, but he still feels like kind of the outcast of the bunch. And he's like feeling frustrated because he is a good writer, but he's not a very successful writer. None of his books really sell, and he's finding so much frustration over still constantly being called a black author. But he doesn't want to be a black author. He just wants to be an author. Like he's in a library one scene where he's kind of berating this employee of like, why is my book over here in African American Studies? This is the only black thing about this is the ink it's written in. And he's even more frustrated by the success of this other writer, Centaura Golden, played by Issa Rae, who's very funny. she has some of the funniest moments in the movie, and she has had great success writing this very black book. You know, he finds it just wildly panderous, just chock full of all the stereotypes of of all like ghetto life, like police violence and gang stuff, and it's told almost exclusively in this very hyper exaggerated jive, and it's even called "We's Lives in the Ghetto." I apologize deeply for how that sounded coming out of my voice. And he has all this like frustrations, like professionally, and like he's envious of her, and his mother is slipping to the beginnings of dementia, and his sister is divorced, and his brother is divorced and gay, and so he just, in his frustrations, Monk writes a book that the white publishing establishment wants, just as pandering and just as stereotypical as Centaura Golden's book, just as a gag. And then his gag sells, and it becomes the biggest hit of his career. It's selling like gangbusters. There's almost immediately a movie deal being made, and he writes out like a pseudonym, and that pseudonym sort of takes he just like sort of builds a character out of that. Like, oh, it's a Stagger Lies, and he's a wanted fugitive from the law, yeah. And he's trying to code switch, and he's really bad at it. And so you have this fantastic cast of actors. Jeffrey Wright. I could go on and on about how much I love Jeffrey Wright. He's so fantastic in everything he does, in anything, even the small parts. But I really think he's becoming more of a household name, and especially more respected in these sort of like movie circles, with his appearances in Wes Anderson movies. Like, oh my God, he practically stole the French Dispatch from everybody. And he was a fantastic Commissioner Gordon in The Batman. And I think he's doing some really fun and interesting stuff. He's always had like really good comedic chops. And I think here, he's interesting because Monk is he's not an easy character to like on paper, because he's very arrogant. He thinks very high of himself, and he is sort of what this movie. He sort of represents this black elite this black elite that like engages with engages with a certain art that he deems lesser than. Like it's sort of like it's all this is beneath him. Like and it has these interesting moments between him and Issa Rae's character that in a weaker movie I think could have been just like sort of stock antagonistic character, but like they have a conversation where you sort of understand and both like more where she's coming from and sort of like giving her audience what they want, and sort of even like digging more into the complexities of creating black art in a white world, or even what is deemed authentically black in this white world. And it was so, and I thought that was so interesting. And you have great moments between him and his publisher, played by John Ortiz. And his family has like a house, it's like an in-house maid who's just an absolute sweetheart. I loved her. You have Sterling K. Brown as his brother Cliff, who is hilarious in this. He's so funny. He almost steals the movie from Jeffrey Wright. Well, he comes very close to. Every scene he shows up is hilarious. I think he definitely earned that Oscar nomination. But he's not just like there for comedy. I mean, yeah, he is mostly here for comedy, but you do get moments where you get like more shades of, and more of a better impression of like what this family was like, and how how both Monk felt growing up in it, and how Cliff felt growing up in him, being in the closet, and the way they both have this moment of like not feeling that they've been fully understood by their family. Both Sterling K. Brown, Jeffrey Wright, fantastic actors in their own right, and just such a gift to get both of them together too, in the same place. Really good. So I've seen a lot of comparisons to Spike Lee's Bamboozled, which is very apt. I do like both those movies they share a core theme of satirizing the media's the often poor representation of black people in media. Although American Fiction is far less confrontational and far less angry than Bamboozled is. I mean, that is Spike Lee at maybe his angriest and maybe his most confrontational as a director. All the better for it, I think personally this owes, and I think I saw an interview of Cord Jefferson talking about this. This owes a lot more, I think, to a different movie, Hollywood Shuffle, by Robert Townsend. Now, Hollywood Shuffle, it's a sort of it's a satirical comedy from like the mid '80s. I think it's like '86, where an up and coming black actor is trying to make it into, right. He was trying to get his big break, and he gets a role in this very stereotypical and unflattering stereotype role. And he has these great little individual sketches about like the various roles he wants to play, and there's that great School of Black Acting scene that you really should look up if you haven't seen it. You really should just watch Hollywood Shuffle if you haven't. And I think that, I think this movie does owe more to Hollywood Shuffle, more in tone, I think, and sort of some of the observations of, this has more to do with the publishing industry than it does Hollywood entertainment. Although he does have some meetings with his Hollywood producer. It's very funny, and I do sort of wish that this was either as strong visually as either of those two movies, because Cord Jefferson, he is, I don't think he's quite found his footing as a director just yet. Like, this is it's shot very big. Not that this movie really calls for much visual flair, but it's still shot very basically. There's a lot of standard coverage, shot reverse shot for the conversations. And it sort of did frustrate me because there was a scene that sort of threw in this this visualization of like these two characters interpreting Monk's mock book in the room with him, and they sort of like, and I sort of thought it would do more of that, but it kind of didn't. Not that the movie is, not that the movie is weaker for not having more of that, but also that is the one scene you get with Keith David in it, and like, if you have Keith David in your movie, you only have him in one scene, criminal, just flat out criminal. Lose a star for that. Anyway, but yeah, and I think some of the, while it does focus, I do like a lot of the I do like the characters. I do like their Monk. I do like his family. I do think some of their family drama is a little. It never gets better than more. It never felt more compelling to me than okay. Like, I'm kind of not sure of like. I guess I just find it more. The movie more strong when it's focusing on its criticisms of like race and like the cautiousness of white liberals who like talking about race and wanting to engage in black stories but only on certain terms. Talking about how it's very important to listen to black voices while ignoring the black people in the room with them. And then it was then at that point that I noticed that there are RBG posters in the same room, and then the hammer met the nail. No, that was great. I also really love the ending, and that was probably the ending that reminded me the most of Hollywood Shuffle, but kind of coming from different conclusions. Where Hollywood Shuffle kind of rejects the stereotyping flat out, and sort of aims to provide a more aspirational representation for. This American Fiction kind of more begrudgingly accepts stereotyping, not as like a necessary evil or anything, more just like learning to live with them and be more comfortable with it, and sort of like kind of understanding, not really understanding why they're so successful, but more like kind of like finding his own niche in it. I hope that made sense. And I also like it doesn't really have any easy answers for any of these problems and issues, but it is self-aware enough, and it's not like the movie ever pretends that there is any, or that it's asking you to look up to it as a better example of what to do. I think it's not like Spike Lee, where it's actively confronting the audience in that way. It's more, American Fiction is more here to observe and have fun with these observations, and kind of just give you some food for thought. And as much as I do respect some of the threads being left unresolved, and yes, the ambiguity is the point, but kind of leaves the character drama winds up feeling lackluster. So, and yes, ambiguity is the point, but still. But all that being said, I thought this definitely lived up to the hype. I think this is very much a fun. It's a really funny movie. It's a really thoughtful movie. I think if you could see this in a crowd, you really should. And I really am looking forward to what Cord Jefferson does next, and anything that Jeffrey Wright does. I will watch anything that man is in. So yeah, I thought it was great. I'm feeling a really decent 7. I think I do think it could have been, I don't know, more visually interesting, and for some of the gambles that do pay off, I think some others feel a little lackluster. But anyway, I do think, definitely great. One of the best movies of last year, I think. Definitely with the hype. Did you see American Fiction? What did you think of it? Also, see Hollywood Shuffle. You really should. It's a great movie, and so is American Fiction. So, what's your favorite? Do you have a Jeffrey Wright performance you love? I don't know. No, don't want to start rambling too soon. So that's my review. Hit comment, like, subscribe. Please share the video. What did you think of American Fiction? And I have a lot of movies to be watching, and I hope you do too. I'll be watching movies, and I hope you do too. Goodbye.